welcome to the Gentle Lounge. This is a channel of international issues and histories for ladies and gentlemen. Today, let us see how George Washington appeared in the US history in his 20s. By the way, who is George Washington? He was the first US president and one of the greatest fathers of the country. On February 22, 1732, he was born. Previously, his family lived in the UK. The great-grandfather of George Washington was John Washington. He led the family to Virginia. In April 1743, Washington's father passed away, and the economic situation of the family suddenly got in trouble. Washington wanted to study abroad in the UK. However, he could not due to the sudden death of his father. His stepbrother gave him warm words and helped him grow. At that time, the job, a surveyor, was one of the new categories. George Washington was highly interested in the field, and at his age 16, he became a surveyor. For several months, he struggled to develop his ability as a surveyor, and in 1749, he became an officially registered surveyor. In 1752, at his age 20, George Washington volunteered to the Army of Virginia. In 1754, George Washington became famous because of the French and Indian War. Let us see why. 1 year earlier, in 1753, the French people started to cooperate with local Indians in Virginia. They started to prevent the British from being strong in the western part of the North America continent. The Virginia governor asked George Washington to deliver the ultimatum and fight against the French commander. During those movements, Washington was reported in the local newspaper and became famous overnight. Even after the ultimatum was delivered, the French didn't leave. In 1754, George Washington was promoted to lieutenant colonel and was ordered to march to Ohio and fight against the French. With the help of local Indians, George Washington could besiege the French. It was his first battle and successful, but soon after, George Washington was betrayed by the local Indians and he had to surrender to the French. He was forced to sign on the document written in French that acknowledged George Washington assassinated the French commander. That became one of the reasons for the armed conflicts between the UK and France. Sometime later, he was released, and in 1755, Washington volunteered to the army again. There was a battle against the French. the expeditionary force was almost annihilated, and the commander was dead during the fight. George Washington, with courage, struggled in the battle. 4 bullets went through his shirt, but he survived without injuries. His brave acts in the battle made him a star in Virginia. After years, he began playing a key role in the U.S. independence. On October 19, 1781, there was the Yorktown Battle. The victory of George Washington was one of the pivotal issues to make independence come true. In the fall of 1781, American and British troops had the last major battle of the American Revolutionary War. In Yorktown, Virginia, the combined American and French forces defeated the British troops. And finally, the Treaty of Paris in 1783 ended the war. American statesmen Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and John Jay negotiated the peace treaty with representatives of King George III of Great Britain. In the treaty, the British formally recognized American independence and ceded most of its territory east of the Mississippi River. It doubled the size of the United States. What was the Treaty of Paris? After the battle in Yorktown, the Continental Congress decided to dispatch a group of representatives to negotiate a peace treaty. Benjamin Franklin was America's ambassador to France then. After the battle in Yorktown on October 19, 1781, negotiations between the British and America began in early 1782. The British wanted to end the war because it was costly. However, it did take time to negotiate as the British did not want to recognize the independence of America. After the election in the UK, things got changed, and the UK soon agreed with the conditions of independence. So, what were the conditions? It was actually favorable to the US. Why? Let's see the political situation of Great Britain at that time.